Greetings, Saber fans. I've got a very special project for you. This is a conglomeration between Grif's Custom Sabers LLC and Pete's Powder Emporium and Megtooth Sith Sabers. This is a KR Sabers Flagship hilt that was etched by Pete's Powder Emporium. Had a lot of metalwork and beautification and most of the install done at Grif's Custom Sabers LLC. And then I put the Proffie in it and added some accent pixels and programmed the Proffie. So Grif and Pete's Powder Emporium did a lot of the heavy lifting and I did the light work on this one. But this is an awesome saber. This is for Tony. And if you stand by right now, we'll roll that beautiful bean footage. This video is for Tony. Before we begin, I want to talk about these flagships. You can buy these KR flagships in brass, copper, and aluminum. And you know, these are two of my flagships, and these were etched and wrapped by Pete Sandoval from Pete's Powder Emporium. And you can kind of see the etch on there. I got my logo on there. A lot of people gripe about that I put my logo on these, but these are my sabers. These are almost my flagships at Megtooth Sith Sabers. But it has my logo on them, and all that etching and the leather wrap was done by Pete's Powder Emporium on both of these sabers. Need to polish this one up. But these are, you know, your typical KR flagships. This one is installed, and I have the two buttons by Robert Sotomayor in there, and as well as the Robert Sotomayor chassis. And I haven't even done a video about my brass KR, but it's been installed for, I would say, a year or more. And I'll try to do a video on that. But kind of wanted to show you all what some plain, well, dressed up KR flagships look like. And you can get these from www.thesaberarmory.com. Might be out of stock right now, but he's just probably re-upping his goods. These things are the go-to. You can do a lot with these hilts. They're pretty awesome. Now, let's talk about the saber in question. So, this saber came to me from Tony, and he's a longtime customer of mine. I've installed a bunch of sabers for Tony. You can see a bunch of his videos on my YouTube channel. But at any rate, this box arrives to me. He told me it was coming, but when it got here, I couldn't believe it. Basically, he had this saber etched, and I'm going to show the etching on this saber. But he had this saber etched by Pete's Powder Emporium in a Boba Fett motif, and you can see, you know, the Boba Fett's crest and the Boba Fett helmet, and then some of the other etching work that was done on the hilt that was freaking phenomenal. So then Tony sends the etched hilt to Grif at Grif's Custom Sabers LLC Incorporated, and then Grif did a lot of machine work. I'm not going to go into everything that Grif did. I discovered some of it, but he's added these external sleeves, or he redid a whole handle part. Then he wrapped the handle in copper wire, which is the first time I've ever seen that done. It's beautiful. It is freaking incredible. But these are actually copper wire. It's just incredible. Then he milled in a crystal chamber that fits in the old switch section. So there's actually a crystal chamber, and he actually machined this window, which has a glass window almost like with a magnifying glass effect. And then he machined these two buttons in, these tactile buttons on the side, because this is normally where the 12mm goes on the flagships. And he did some other copper winding here, and he added a decorative blade retention thumb screw there, and then he did the chassis. But I'll show you the inside after we're done here, but I want to show you the saber in action because it's pretty cool. The artistic and metalwork, the crystal chamber chassis sleeve, and most of the install was done by Grif's Custom Sabers. The etching was done by Pete's Powder Emporium, and all I did was hook up the brains and program the brains, basically. I don't think Grif's too much into Proffies. They're too, you know, he doesn't like them. And you can see Grif's into metalwork, and he does great, beautiful metalwork. This is one of the most beautiful sabers I've ever seen in person. It is absolutely incredible. And like I said, Pete's Powder Emporium did the etching on the hilt. Now, this first font, I knew this was a special saber. It needed a special font to start off with. And let me make sure here.
Seismic charges.
I want to make sure that we're in the right font. So I knew this saber needed a special font. Boba Fett didn't really have a lightsaber, but he did have Slave 1, as did his father. And probably one of the most identifiable things about Slave 1 were the seismic charges. So then Dendo's Moonforge did a font on saberfont.com, which is where I got this from, www.saberfont.com. Dendo's Moonforge is the name of the font artist, and this font is called Seismic Blade. But there are some additions to this font that were made by Brian Connor. He's big on the Proffie and open source groups. Brian Connor did massive additions to this Dendo's Moonforge Seismic Blade font, including preons, hums with Slave 1 engines as background, redid the smooth swings and everything else, and basically turned this into something else. And the preon goes to a blade style that Brian Connor wrote that's incredible. This saber is installed with Proffie 2.2 on OS 5.7 with battle mode, but let's show you the coup de grace, the font that's on this saber. That's awesome. So here we go. Let's light up the Seismic Blade. Let's see that again, because that's awesome. There's the seismic charge going out, and then it blows. That's the preon. Oop, my bad. Switch fonts.
Seismic charges.
Here we go. So once the charge goes off, the blade settles down into a normal font. And that's Slave 1. So you have, your lockup, you have tip drag, and you have stab and all that too. So if I activate it in battle mode, you have melt, and we'll wait till it settles down. There's your melt. Which is awesome. Of course you have lock up in battle mode. And then force sounds. So I thought that was pretty fitting for a Boba Fett font. The rest of the fonts on there, you guys have probably heard. Some of them will be new to Tony, but there's a lot of Kyberphonic and K Sith fonts on here. I'm trying to get it thrust on with battle mode. Sometimes it goes good, sometimes it doesn't. There it goes. You can see the crystal chamber there. And this one is the fire blade inside the crystal chamber, which is pretty cool. Tony owns every font known to man. And now he'll own the Seismic Blade too. So I've got the crystal pulsing when the saber's off. The crystal pulses when the saber's off, and then when you ignite, and I'll show it to you in Vader. When it ignites, the crystal then goes solid, but the crystal also mimics the blade effects. There it is in lockup. And that's on all the fonts. It's a New Hope training by Jesse Kirkbride.
The Force will be with you. Always.
That's The Blind Knight by Jesse Kirkbride, Kyberphonics. Rogue One Vader by K Sith.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
ESB by Kyberphonics.
Lord Vader.
Vader's assassin.
And that's
This is General Kenobi.
oh, and there's that's the Negotiator by Fonts by Force, and you can see the crystal pulsing there, matching the blade color. Blade goes on. You can see the crystal chamber goes in the lockup too. Pretty cool. Hopefully that's going to come out on video. My lightning blade. fighter by the complicator.
Have you ever removed your helmet?
No.
Has it ever? Vader's assassin.
Rainbow blade, which rainbow blade goes in the crystal too.
I'll show you.
And then the battery blade. And of course it's
3.62 volts.
got the battery speed too. One thing I forgot to show y'all on the first font, which is another thing that was really cool that Brian O'Connor did, is the blaster blocks. Watch this. Wave 1 blaster blocks. Of course, it's got force lightning blocks
What if he doesn't survive?
when we're not in battle mode. There's your force lightning. It does color changing. It does everything. Well, let's show you what's on the inside. But before we do, kind of wanted to explain what I did on the inside. So, if anybody hasn't seen, this is my Mentor Graflex chassis. And the cool part about this saber was I figured out a way to get lots of neopixel accent LEDs in this very tight fit hilt. And I'll turn it off here so you guys can see them functioning. There's actually 40 neopixels in underneath these windows right here. And how I got those neopixels in is I used really small neopixels. This saber is sick in how many accent neopixels it has. So basically, I brought some neopixels to show y'all. So these are 50/50s. These are the typical neopixels that we started building blades with. And the 35/35s, which is pretty much my go-to. This is what I build blades with, is 35/35s. And then you have 20/20s. So you can see the size difference in the 20/20s. So, knowing the 20/20s and knowing how effective they are at putting a lot of neopixels in a very small area, I took what was left and available in the back of the chassis. Let me take the blade out of here so I can show you the blade plug too. Yeah. Of course it's going to activate. Let's put the blade plug in this thing, because Grif built a custom blade plug for this as well, which has the Civilized Sabers lit blade plug in. I'll put the blade plug in so you can see that before I show you the guts. Alright, now let's look at the inside. So I'm going to take off the hilt and show you the guts. So, like I said, Grif did this beautiful chassis slip in brass that goes over the top of the chassis, and of course got the 2.1mm recharge port here. Kind of hard to get a kill key in there where the whole hilt will fit over, but then there was one window here that Grif cut in that's just over the soundboard where the soundboard mounts, and I was able to get 20 neopixels. That's 20 individual pixels, and under there doing these animations on each of the presets. And each of the presets is different, and it color matches and blade matches. So this is the Seismic font. So ignite, that's pre-on. Now it's on, but it also blade matches. It's in the lockup. And then it goes back to kind of like a silent effect. And it does this in all the fonts. So I'm hoping that y'all can see that clear. And you can see it color matches in whatever font you're on, and it does that animation. But once you ignite the saber, it goes solid, and then it blade matches. So the thing's pretty awesome. The neopixel accents in there are pretty awesome. Grif did this whole chassis, y'all. All I did is add in the Proffie and do the neopixel accents here and program the Proffie. This is all Grif and Pete's Powder Emporium. I'm just the dummy. The speaker does open so you can access the soundboard, and kind of hard to see everything in there, but the neopixels are all going in there, and you have access to the SD card and to the USB charger right there by opening the that's another thing Grif did. That's freaking ingenious. But this is just an awesome saber, and I'll cycle through the presets so you can see. You know, there's the fire blade in the window, and then you have the LEDs going here in the back. And you can see its blade matching.
The Force will be with you. Always. The Force is with you, young.
Vader's assassin.
Proplicator did that Vader's Assassin. That's who did that one.
Hello there.
And that's Fonts by Fours Negotiator. This is the Balance by K-Sith. Now I just have a battery meter going in here on this particular preset, so that's actually the battery meter going in the neopixels. There's a battery meter going in the neopixels there as well.
Have you ever removed your helmet?
And I need to change this to purple to match the blade on this Mandalorian font.
Vader's assassin.
And then when you ignite up in the rainbow blade, your crystal chambers rainbow, the aft accents are rainbow, as well as the blade.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
And then the last one is, you know, just the battery meter font, and then the background track on that is Mandalorian, which I'm going to put the rear of the hilt on so you can hear the acoustics once the hilt's back on. But what's unique tonight is I'm shooting this on 2 cameras. I'm live on Facebook, but I'm also shooting the YouTube video for this. So hopefully I'll have, you know, be able to shoot the rest of this YouTube video and get this video up on YouTube. But this is for Tony, very special project, very special saber, and you know, can't say enough good things about Grif's Custom Sabers LLC and Pete's Powder Emporium for the work that they did on this thing. This saber is just a piece of beauty inside and out, as y'all can see, and Tony's going to be really proud to own this. I hope it does not get lost in shipping because this thing is just priceless. I don't even know what you would put a price on a saber like this, but it's one of the most beautiful sabers I've ever installed. Put it right up there with my Mentor Graphics. It's awesome. So thank you everybody for watching. And Tony, I hope you get a chance to see this video, and I hope you get out of your Q zone soon and get to where you're going so I can ship this thing off to you. So now that you've seen this bad boy in action, let's talk about the hilt really quick. So number one, you have your crystal chamber here, which pulses in most blade styles and then goes on solid and blade matches. Right now it's in the battery meter mode and it's reading green, so we should have a full battery. Power is, when you're looking at this, I consider this the top of the hilt. Power is on your left, auxiliary is on your right. So right now it's flashing green, so the battery's pretty much full. Let's test.
4.09 volts.
So it's pretty much a full battery, 4.09 volts. Now, let's talk about some of the other ins and outs of the saber. Number one, you can remove the hilt, just twist off the handle, and the hilt comes apart, and then we have our exposed chassis. There's the neopixels on the chassis. They're also flashing battery meter right now. This is the 2.1 millimeter recharge port. When your battery gets down to around, I don't know, usually I let mine run down to around 3.5 volts. Once it's at 3.5 volts, plug your 2.1 millimeter charger into the recharge port, then plug your charger into the wall. Usually red light means it's charging, green light means it's charged. When it's charged, remove the plug and put the hilt back on, or you can display it, you know, like this, or whatever you want to do. This is equipped with standby with idle time off, so you'll get about a month or two of standby. If you're going to be you know, leaving the saber for a long period of time, 6-7 months, I highly suggest putting a kill key in it, and then you're not going to be able to get the handle back on it. Oh, while we had it open, I should have showed you something else. If ever you need, Tony, to access the SD card, and the programming port on the Proffie, they're accessible right here. This simply, the speaker opens just like this. It's magnetically sealed, and then it closes. That's how you get to the Proffie programming port and also your SD card. Very tight fit in this chassis. But at any rate, I think those are the only things you need to see on the inside right now. And now let's show you a little bit about the blade. So how do we get a blade in and out of this saber? This is your blade retention screw. This is the neopixel retention screw. Leave that one alone. And I don't see any other screws. So this is your blade retention screw. To get a blade out of your saber, simply loosen this, lefty-loosey. Out comes your blade plug. This is your blade plug that was made by Grif. It does have the Civilized Sabers blade plug neopixel target, which is awesome. I've used them before. And to get a blade into the saber, simply reverse that process. We're going to insert our blade into the hilt, and I believe it's connected.
Seismic charges.
And so now we know it's connected. I'm going to go ahead and tighten the blade retention screw. Now, this blade that I have on here is a demo blade. This is not going to show all the effects in full. To see how the blades look, you can watch the video. But that's how you get a blade in and out. Now, we're going to talk about buttons. When everything's falling down and nothing's fitting, we're going to talk about buttons. I'll keep that in there. What a disaster. Alright, so now we're back from that disaster. Let's talk about your buttons. So this saber is equipped with Proffie 2.2. It's programmed on operating system 5.7 with battle mode. It is programmed with Matt McGurry's buttons. That's SA22C's buttons. And it does have two buttons. Like I said, power is on the left of the window. Auxiliary is on the right. To ignite the saber, simply push power. To retract the saber, push and hold power until the saber retracts. That's that simple. To activate it muted, you double click and hold power. There you go, it's doing its thing muted. That's how you get it in mute. Again, once it's ignited in mute, you push and hold power until the saber retracts. Next, each font has a music track. And if you want to play a music track, it's a 2-second hold on power while the saber is off. 1, 2. Then you can ignite the saber, and every preset has a track that goes with it.
He's no good to me dead.
2-second hold on power turns it off. To turn off the blade, like I said, you push and hold power until it turns off. To get a force effect, you double click when it's power on, so I'm going to turn on the saber. And then once the saber's on, you can get force sounds by double clicking power.
I take it you have no love of the Empire. I take it you have no love of the Empire. He's no good to me dead. He's no good to me dead. Hang on, son, we'll move into the asteroid field. And we'll have a couple of surprises for you.
I just did a gesture, turn it off there. I'll explain that in a minute. You can also get to your previous preset by pushing and holding power.
Did you come back to say you forgive me?
That cycles back to our battery preset, which is the last preset. So to advance presets, you use the auxiliary. To go back, you push and hold power, and it will go back to a previous preset. Now, let's get into a font that's not going to be in danger of...
Vader's assassin. Have you ever removed your helmet?
This is General Kenobi.
Okay, so now we're going to get into color changing. To get color changing, we're going to ignite.
So presumptuous.
And then once we're ignited, we're gonna hold power and then click aux, and you should hear a tone. Then we're in color changing mode, and then we can twist the hilt and change colors to whatever color we want. When you get to the color that you want, you just press and hold power to select. This saber is equipped with save state, so when you change colors, it'll remember the color that you saved each preset in, and that will be the color the preset runs in. That's color changing on OS 5.7 on Proffie. That's pretty simple. The only thing I would suggest is do not change colors on a red blade, because it's very hard to select red blade back. Now, let's talk about lightning block. So the Proffie OS 5.7 includes lightning block, but only when you're not in battle mode. So if you ignite in battle mode, you don't have access to lightning block. But if you're in battle mode, you just double click and hold the power button. And then you get the lightning block going in the blade. To stop lightning block, release power. And that stops lightning block. You only have lightning block when you ignite the saber using the power button. You do not have lightning block in battle mode. And I'll explain battle mode here in a second. Next is melt. When you have the saber on and you
Let the negotiations begin.
you stab the saber against something while you're holding power. Oop. There it is. I had to stab the wall. My hand wasn't good enough. But yeah, you press and hold power and then stab the wall. That's your stab. Now, you can also get into battle mode by triple click and hold for half a second while the saber's on. 1, 2, 3. Now we're in battle mode. So I get automatic lockup. I get automatic melt and automatic tip drag. And you end all of those just by pulling the saber away. You just gesture the saber away from whatever you're doing. So when you got a clash and you're locked up with another saber, how you end lockup is just pull the saber away. Clash, lockup, pull the saber away. It ends. That's battle mode. I think Tony is well aware of what battle mode is, but that's for everyone else on here. Also, there's gesture ignitions. And I believe... Yeah. Once you power the saber off, you're back out of battle mode. The other way to get into battle mode automatically is to use gesture ignitions. This saber is equipped with 2 gesture ignitions. One is thrust on, which is a thrust forward of the saber, and then it also has twist off, and twist is back and forth in rapid motion, back and forth. It also twist on to get into battle mode. Twist off. There's the thrust. There's the twist. 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 The twist is a simple back and forth motion. And the thrust is simply a forward thrust. And I really don't have enough length here to do it. I'm going to knock over everything in the workshop. But the thrust automatically puts you in battle mode. Battle mode gives you automatic lockup, automatic drag, and automatic tip drag. Now let's talk about your auxiliary features. When you ignite the saber, you get blasters by briefly pressing the auxiliary. You get multi-blast by double-click and hold for half a second, and multi-blast gives you a blast every time you swing your saber, so I'm going to put it in multi-blast by double-click and hold on auxiliary. Every time I swing the saber, I get a blast.
Missed me.
To get out of auto blast, double click and hold. So I turn the saber off with a gesture ignition. To get to our next preset, we click aux, and we're in the next preset. Let's turn on this blade, which is my lightning blade. And to get lockup, when you're not in battle mode, you can press and hold auxiliary. There's lockup. To get tip drag, you point the saber down toward the ground and press lockup, and you get tip drag. And when you release, those end. Now let's turn the saber off. I'm going to do that with a gesture ignition. SA22C is also equipped with a volume menu. To get into the volume menu, it's a 2-second click on aux, and you should hear a beep, 1, 2. Now we're in the volume menu. To increase volume, you click power. So I'm already at full volume. To decrease volume, click aux. You can hear the volume decreasing. When you hear that different tone, you're at full reduced volume. 2-second press on aux. Get you out of the volume menu. And then ignite. It's in reduced volume. Gesture to turn it off. Let's go back into the volume menu and turn it up. 2-second press on aux. 1, 2. Back in the volume menu, turn it back up with power. Every click gives you, I think it's 10% volume back. When you hear that different tone, you're at full volume. Now, just really quick, if you're ever hitting these buttons and nothing's happening, the saber's not ignited, and you're just hearing these beeps, you're in the volume menu. To get out of that, 2-second press on aux. 1, 2, and you're clear. Now you can ignite the saber back in full volume. Battery level. When the saber is in idle like it is now, you can press and hold aux and just press it until you hear the battery readout.
4.04 volts.
4.04 volts. And then when you're done playing with your saber, take your blade out of it. Loosen the blade retention screw, and out comes the blade. The blades are a little bit tight. This does take a 1-inch blade. All these flagships are a little bit tight on the blade socket. Tighten, put in your blade plug and tighten your retention screw, and Bob's your auntie. You're in business. This saber is pretty awesome. Tony, I hope you enjoy this saber as much as I enjoyed building it.
Have you ever Vader's assassin?
Not the past. Seismic charges.
Got a bunch of cool fonts on there in a real cool blade style. If this was my saber, the only font I'd play with is this first one, the Seismic font. Thing is awesome. This saber was a lot of fun to build. It didn't take me that long. Grif did most of the internal work. All I did is add the soundboard and the programming. I hope this finds you well, Tony, and thank you everybody else for watching, and may the Force be with you. Thank you everybody for watching, as usual. I really appreciate y'all tuning in on my channel, and as always,